Welcome back to the channel where hidden history meets unforgettable stories. Today's video is about hope crossing oceans, dreams standing in long lines, and a promise whispered to millions before they ever set foot on American soil. Words that defined a nation, words that welcomed to legacy coins USA, the tired, the poor, and the fearless who dared to start again. This is a story of Ellis Island freedom and the powerful symbols that still shape how we see America today. Stay with me because this journey is emotional, surprising, and far deeper than you might expect. First up, imagine holding a piece of metal in your hand that seems to whisper the most iconic invitation in American history, the words that once greeted millions of hopeful immigrants as they approached New York Harbor in search of a new life. The very phrase etched into this coin, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," long associated with the Statue of Liberty and America's promise of freedom and opportunity. This script is about a fascinating object collectors call a 1906 Ellis Island Gateway to America, dollar a piece marked $1 with that unforgettable inscription, and who designed initials like JM. But here's the twist: what you're most likely holding is not an official United States Mint coin from 1906, but a later replica or fantasy piece created to evoke America's immigrant heritage. Before we dive deep into what this coin actually is and why people collect it, we need to understand the story behind the words on it, words that have become symbolic of America's identity. The words of the poem The New Colossus, written by Emma Lazarus in 1883 and later affixed to the Statue of Liberty in 1903, giving rise to that inspiring welcome at Liberty's pedestal. Those powerful words were never part of the original gift of the Statue of Liberty from France in 1886, but over time they became inseparable from the statue's message of welcome to immigrants who landed at nearby Ellis Island between 1892 and 1954, with more than 12 million people passing through those gates seeking a better life. Now, when you look at a coin or metal that bears that inscription, you're looking at a modern celebration of that immigrant narrative, not an official government piece minted in the early 20th century as circulating currency. The United States Mint did issue a legitimate commemorative, quite famously, for the Statue of Liberty centennial in 1986, with silver $1 coins that carried similar imagery and inscriptions. Those real 1986 silver dollars were authorized by Congress, struck in 90% silver, and bore on the obverse the Statue of Liberty with Ellis Island's buildings in the background, and on the reverse the torch and words from Emma Lazarus' poem with United States of America $1 e pluribus unum and In God We Trust, all part of their design. Collectible and legal tender, these authentic 1986 pieces have known values among numismatists depending on condition, mint, mark, and finish, but are firmly established in catalogs and collections as real United States commemorative coins that honor the immigrant experience and America's enduring ideals. In contrast, the so-called 1906 Ellis Island Gateway to America dollar you might see on online auction sites or in private collections is a replica-style coin often made from iron or other base metal with milling and designs inspired by those later commemoratives, but not part of any official mint program. Numismatic databases list this type as a replica, with designers sometimes noted as John M. Mercanti and Matthew Peloso, names that should raise eyebrows because Mercanti was chief engraver of the U.S. Mint long after 1906 and Peloso worked on later commemorative designs, not anything from that early era. These replicas often carry MPJM on the field's initials that may represent designer marks, but they do not appear in any official U.S. Mint records for 1906 coinage, and no dollar coin was authorized or struck by the Mint that year with this design. The numismatic value of these replica pieces is very different from an official commemorative genuine U.S. Mint issue. Because they are not legal tender, were never issued by the government, and are often made of inexpensive metals, their market value typically reflects novelty appeal, not intrinsic precious metal or collectible rarity. Some sellers list pieces like this for a few dollars to a few tens of dollars depending on condition, but coin collectors widely regard them as fantasy issues or novelties that evoke American symbolism rather than true numismatic rarities with historical mint records. Yet their story is compelling because these replicas tap into one of the most emotional and enduring narratives in American history, the welcoming ideal that millions of families experience through Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, one of the most iconic national symbols. The words on the coin from the Lazarus poem capture that spirit, and the phrase "Gateway to America" directly references Ellis Island, the immigration station through which so many passed, shaping the diverse fabric of American society. To really appreciate this coin, you need to understand the context of Ellis Island itself, the hectic processing halls, the weeks of waiting, the hopes and fears of people from all over Europe, Asia, and beyond as they sought entry into the United States, where possibilities seemed endless. The phrase "In God We Trust," visible on these pieces, also carries its own evolution in U.S. coinage, becoming a universal motto on American money only after Congress mandated its use on all coins by 1908, reflecting cultural and political attitudes of the time. Collectors often find this topic fascinating because it intersects iconic national symbolism, immigration history, design changes in U.S. coinage, and the desire for tangible tokens that tell stories beyond their metal content. If you place an authentic 1986 Statue of Liberty Centennial silver dollar next to a 1906 Ellis Island replica, you'll see clear differences. The silver coin's lustrous finish and official mint marks contrast with the base metal look and off-date on the replica, telling an expert eye all you need to know about authenticity and origin. So when you or your viewers encounter these pieces at shows or online auctions, remember that while they may invoke America's heritage, the real numismatic backstory divides sharply between official United States Mint commemoratives and privately produced replicas. The authentic commemoratives carry known values recorded in price guides and often see premiums for uncirculated and proof conditions, while the replicas live in the world of exonumia tokens and collectibles without official issuance or government backing. That doesn't make replicas worthless to everyone. They can be conversation pieces, reminders of family stories, immigration journeys, or teaching tools to explain how money and symbolism intersect in American culture. Before buying or selling such an item, experts always recommend consulting a reputable coin dealer or reference guide to confirm whether the coin is official or a replica and to understand the market value for authentic issues versus novelty coins. In closing, the 1906 Ellis Island Gateway to America piece is fascinating not because it was struck in 1906 as U.S. legal tender, but because it shows how powerful American imagery and history can inspire people to create objects that celebrate those ideals in their own way. The real heart of this story is America's promise and the Statue of Liberty's enduring message of welcome, a story captured in silver in 1986 and echoed in replicas and collectibles around the world. And that is the full journey from inscription to inspiration to numismatic reality behind one of the most discussed coins collectors encounter today. Next up, the story of this coin begins with a powerful name, United States of America, a phrase that instantly carries weight, history, and emotion, and when those words appear on a silver piece marked 1 ounce fine silver $1, they immediately spark curiosity, imagination, and debate among collectors, historians, and everyday people who feel drawn to the deeper meaning behind American symbols. This is not just a piece of silver, it is a storytelling object, a modern creation inspired by the soul of early 20th century America, a time when the nation was defining its identity through liberty, faith, unity, and opportunity, and every word stamped into this coin was chosen to echo those ideals. The date 1906 is one of the most intriguing elements because it places the coin visually in an era of massive immigration, industrial growth, and national transformation, yet no official United States Mint record exists for a $1 1 ounce fine silver coin struck in that year with this design, which immediately tells us this piece belongs to a different category within the numismatic world. To understand this coin properly, we must talk about exonumia, a branch of collecting that includes metals, tokens, and privately issued pieces that look like coins but were not made for circulation by the federal government. These items often honor historical themes, anniversaries, or national ideals, and that is exactly where this coin lives. The inscription E pluribus unum, intentionally or unintentionally misspelled from the traditional E pluribus unum, still delivers the same symbolic message out of many one, a phrase that reflects unity, immigration, and the blending of cultures that defined the American experience, especially in the early 1900s. Liberty appears on this coin not just as a word but as a concept tied deeply to the national identity of the United States. Liberty represented freedom of speech, freedom of belief, and freedom to pursue a better life, ideals that attracted millions of immigrants during the era suggested by the date on this piece. The phrase "In God We Trust" adds another powerful layer because while it became a standard motto on American coinage in the early 20th century, its inclusion here reinforces the moral and cultural foundation that many Americans associated with national strength and shared values. The marking 1 ounce fine silver is critical because it tells us this piece was designed with bullion appeal in mind. Unlike circulating coins of the early 1900s, which had specific silver content set by law, this piece follows modern bullion conventions, appealing to both silver investors and collectors. The initials JM found on this coin are commonly associated by sellers with modern designers or engravers and not with any mint official from 1906, which further supports the conclusion that this is a modern commemorative or replica style issue rather than a historical circulation coin. Coins like this are often created to bridge the gap between history and collectability, giving people a tangible way to connect with the past without owning a museum-level rarity. They are made to be accessible, symbolic, and emotionally resonant. From a numismatic perspective, value is determined differently than official United States Mint issues. The worth of this coin is primarily based on silver content, condition, craftsmanship, and demand rather than rarity or legal tender status. Most examples of 1 ounce fine silver pieces like this trade close to the current silver market price, with small premiums added depending on finish, detail, and seller reputation. Some may sell for more if marketed with historical storytelling or limited production claims. collectors should understand that while this coin is marked $1, it does not carry face value spending power and was never intended to circulate as money. Instead, it functions as a silver round with commemorative design elements. That does not diminish its appeal because many collectors actively seek silver rounds with strong American themes, and this piece clearly delivers with its bold inscriptions, patriotic language, and historic date. The year 1906 itself is meaningful because it sits in the middle of the Ellis Island immigration era when millions arrived in America bringing dreams, labor, and cultural richness that shaped the modern nation. Even though this coin was not present in that era, it reflects how deeply that time period continues to inspire modern creators and collectors alike. In the broader market, coins like this are often confused with official issues, which makes education important. Understanding the difference between United States Mint products and privately issued silver rounds protects buyers and strengthens appreciation for both. Serious numismatists may not catalog this coin alongside Morgan dollars or peace dollars, yet it still holds a place in collections focused on American symbolism, modern silver, or patriotic art pieces. The craftsmanship of these coins can vary. Some are struck with high-relief polished fields and sharp lettering, while others are simpler, but all aim to evoke authority, permanence, and national pride. From a storytelling standpoint, this coin is powerful because it allows content creators and collectors to talk about history, unity, faith, and freedom all through a single object made of silver. It becomes a gateway conversation piece, not just about money but about what America represents to different generations and why those ideals are still stamped into metal today. For YouTube audiences especially, this type of coin is perfect because it blends mystery, education, and emotion. Viewers are drawn in by the date, the silver weight, and the familiar phrases, then surprised by the true backstory. This is the kind of piece that reminds us not every coin needs to be ancient or officially sanctioned to be meaningful. Sometimes the story it tells is what gives it life. In the end, this 1-ounce fine silver $1 marked United States of America 1906 stands as a modern tribute to classic American ideals rather than a relic of the past. And that is exactly why it continues to capture attention, spark debate, and earn a place in collections across the country. Last coin. The moment you hear the date 1776-1976, you are instantly pulled into one of the most important anniversaries in American history, the bicentennial of the United States, a celebration that marked 200 years since the Declaration of Independence and renewed national pride across the country. This coin is a product of that powerful moment in time when America paused to look back at its founding ideals, liberty, unity, faith, and independence, and chose to celebrate them through art, symbols, and collectible pieces that carried meaning beyond money. United States of America across the top of the coin sets the tone immediately because this was not about everyday spending. This was about identity, history, and remembrance, a bold declaration meant to resonate with collectors, patriots, and everyday citizens alike. The phrase E pluribus unum appears prominently even though it is spelled differently from the traditional Latin motto. The meaning remains clear out of many one, a phrase deeply connected to the American experiment and especially meaningful during the bicentennial era. $1 is written on the coin, but like many bicentennial-themed silver rounds and medals, this piece was not struck for circulation by the United States Mint. Instead, it belongs to the world of commemorative exonumia, created to honor history rather than function as legal tender. Liberty stands at the heart of this coin, not just as a word but as a symbol of the freedoms fought for in 1776 and still celebrated 2 centuries later in 1976 when Americans reflected on how far the nation had come. In God We Trust reinforces the spiritual and moral dimension that many Americans associate with national strength and perseverance, a motto that became firmly established on U.S. coinage long before the bicentennial but gained renewed emphasis during this patriotic celebration. The dual date 1776-1976 is the emotional core of the piece, linking the birth of the nation with its 200th anniversary and serving as a bridge between the revolutionary generation and the modern America of the 1970s. During the bicentennial, the United States Mint released official coins including special quarter, half-dollar, and dollar designs, but alongside those official issues, a massive wave of privately minted commemorative silver rounds entered the market. This coin fits into that wave created by private mints to meet public demand for patriotic keepsakes that people could hold, pass down, and display as reminders of the bicentennial spirit. The initials DRM found on the coin are generally understood to represent a designer or private mint mark rather than a U.S. Mint official, which further places this piece in the category of privately issued commemorative silver rounds. Numismatically, these coins are collected differently from official U.S. Mint bicentennial issues because they are valued more for metal content, design appeal, and historical theme rather than mintage figures recorded by the government. Many of these bicentennial silver rounds were struck in 1-ounce fine silver, making them attractive to both collectors and silver investors, especially during times when precious metals gained popularity as a store of value. Value for coins like this typically follows the silver market price, with added premiums depending on condition, visual appeal, and demand for bicentennial-themed items. Some examples sell modestly while others command higher prices based on craftsmanship and collector interest. The 1970s were a unique era for American coin collecting, marked by economic uncertainty, rising silver prices, and a renewed fascination with tangible assets and patriotic symbolism. As a result, millions of Americans purchased bicentennial silver rounds not necessarily as numismatists but as citizens wanting a physical connection to the 200-year story of their country. Unlike official coins, these pieces were often sold through mail order. Advertisements, television promotions, and commemorative sets making them widely distributed and deeply nostalgic. Collectors today view these coins as time capsules from the bicentennial era, each one reflecting how Americans in 1976 chose to remember their past. While serious numismatists may prioritize official U.S. Mint bicentennial coins, this type of silver round still holds a respected place in collections focused on American history, private mint art, and silver bullion. Authentication for these coins focuses on metal content, weight, and strike quality rather than mint records, and reputable dealers often test silver purity to confirm authenticity. Condition also matters because clean, undamaged examples with strong detail are more desirable, especially for collectors who appreciate display quality as much as historical meaning. From a storytelling perspective, this coin is powerful because it allows creators to talk about the American Revolution, the bicentennial celebration, and the evolution of commemorative coinage all through one object. It reminds viewers that not every important coin comes directly from the U.S. Mint. Some come from moments in history when people felt inspired to create something lasting. This piece represents how Americans in 1976 honored the courage of 1776, using silver as a canvas for memory, pride, and national unity. In the end, this United States of America bicentennial silver dollar is not just about metal or money, it is about reflection, celebration, and the ongoing story of a nation built on ideals. And that is why decades later it still captures attention, sparks conversation, and earns its place in collections across the country.